in the two centre-backs. That means Forrest can play more further forward. Elyounoussi can tack in from that left-hand side. You've got Christie looking to support.
Elyounoussi, lovely turn. Link with McGregor. It might play in. Frimpong too. Out comes Doohan. An important block from the man on trial. Celtic once again clicking into gear. Taylor, it's over the top of Elyounoussi. You're right though, when you can push your fullbacks forward like that, it allows Forrest and Elyounoussi to play more narrow and form really a front three.
Of course it does, and then you've got Christie as well and McGregor. They almost can get on the ball. They've got loads of time and space in the middle of the park.
Irwin finds shot. Neat ball into Vigurs, but Scott Brown.
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
Wasted many passes. Everybody wants the ball. Ross County are not providing
Vigurs, but
you know, top
Brown.
opposition like we saw.
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
Wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
Wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
Wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. With the 3 stripes in our arm and 9 in the bag, the quest for 10 begins. We will go again, bigger and better. A history like no other.
wasted many passes.
The game a little bit more, so the developing different sides of Vigurs for
you know,
different
top
Brown.
opposition like
It's still the Celtic way. This is still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
Many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
Many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side
It's still the Celtic way. It's still home, but we are ready for a new look. It's time to make history. Three strikes in our arm and 9 in the bag. Quick and tending in. Again, bigger, better. History of the world.
many passes and
the developing stronger side Forrest. Charles Cook bringing it back well, having to do it from a very low base position. You know, you're touching on it, feeling to us like a bounce game with no atmosphere. For the players reacting to that, do you think, and when really big games come, particularly for Celtic in European qualifiers, which are, you know, high pressure games without the fans, will it be difficult almost to realise just how intense that pressure is without a big support that turn it into that big game atmosphere?
Well, do you know what? I think Taylor's struggling. Greg Taylor, he's gone down. He's on his backside now, and he's calling the physio on. In terms of the atmosphere, I think sometimes it can help players, because you know what it's like sometimes when you come here, Rory, and you play in front of a packed house and you give the ball away a couple of times, people get on your back. You know, all of a sudden everyone want the ball. Now you make a mistake and it's not highlighted as much because the crowd are not here. And it's the same when you go to these tough European places as well. You know, players might well feel a bit more braver now getting on the ball.
Well, Christopher Ayer is the second player to go down and require attention. Taylor is just trying to, he hit the deck as well, and he's just hoping to run off that knock as he holds his left ankle, it looks to be, that's causing him a problem. Christopher Ayer's back to his feet. I suppose if the crowd don't tell you that you've made a mistake, they'll all hear Neil Lennon for sure now. They can't make that excuse.
Exactly. So Frank Lampard and Jurgen Klopp the other night at Anfield, wasn't it? Every single word you could hear.
Well, the players taking the opportunity to get a bit of a drinks break, take on some fluids before the half time. But that will be a concern for Neil Lennon, with two of his back four receiving treatment in the last 5 minutes or so.
Might tell his board something, that they need cover. Can't expect to go through games and games and games and pre-season without getting knocks, injuries. It's not going to happen. That's why I'm positive that Celtic will be 4 or 5 more players better off in terms of quality and numbers within the next 2 to 3 weeks, in my opinion. And I'm just saying that. I actually think they need that. They need help. They need backup.
Ayer looking for the dart from James Forrest, just a bit overhit, but it was a good run from the winger. Scott Brown remained calm, with pressure coming on his back. Frimpong, Forrest takes it, and just a bit of a late challenge coming on Frimpong. Sent him tumbling. Greg Taylor trying to test out that left ankle. He's still just hobbling slightly as he gets back into position.
Got to say, the Royal players look sharp, don't they? Players look almost ready to go. In a week's time they will be, but I think they've looked very sharp, looked very fit, all hungry for the ball.
Yeah, 3 full-paced games under their belt. Neil Lennon was, in the first 2 games, tending to change the starting side after an hour with full changes. Then it was a bit different against Paris Saint-Germain. As for Ross County, they had that frustration of the Hibernian game that got cancelled late on in the day. Must have been really, really tough for Stuart Kettlewell just when he's trying to get minutes into the players' legs. They had a previous game up at Cormack Park against Aberdeen, and then of course the game yesterday, but these players weren't involved in that.
Credit to Ross County and Stuart Kettlewell. They've been able to play 2 teams yesterday at Livingston and of course today. So they've done really well as a group to manage the squads and to manage the 11s that go out onto the pitch 2 consecutive afternoons. Takes an awful lot of organising, looking after players, nurturing them, injuries, everything else.
Well, you'd have thought now that Celtic won't take any further risk with Greg Taylor as he goes down for the 3rd time in a matter of 5 minutes or so. So Celtic will be enforced into a change. There was a challenge from Conor Randall, wasn't it, that caused the problem?
It was ugly. It wasn't a nice challenge at all from Conor Randall on Greg Taylor. I think they'll take Greg Taylor off. I don't think they can afford to take risks.
That seemed to be the signal that was coming from the players that were over there, that would have to be changed. Of course, it is a shortened bench for both teams, just 6 substitutes. And there's not really a natural left back. You'd have thought maybe Luke O'Connell could come on, or Kerr McInroy perhaps. I think it will be Kerr McInroy to come on, a young man who's coming back from his own serious injuries, and now after being on the verge of the first team squad, he might get an opportunity to stake his claim. Kerr McInroy on for Greg Taylor. And we talked about that coming into the game, John, that the last thing that you want to get at this stage is any injury.
Well, you are going to get some, though. It's a miracle, to go through games without committing yourself, without picking up little niggly injuries, and it's very difficult, and that's why I can't overemphasise enough in terms of cover. Celtic need cover, and they will have to go into the market. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Here's Edouard. Elyounoussi and McInroy. Slides it across with pace, but beyond any of those looking to get on the end of it.
It's a blow to Taylor as well coming off, because him and Elyounoussi down that left hand side were really working well together. Taylor involved in the first goal, Elyounoussi with the second goal. It was looking good, wasn't it?
Brown, Elyounoussi, Edouard, Donaldson with an important challenge. Now here's Ollie Shaw on the break for Ross County. Irwin outside him. And Celtic defending with 9 outfield players at the moment, just as Odsonne Edouard makes his way back slowly to the halfway line, but Celtic leading 2-0 at the break. An own goal from Cole Donaldson before Moy Elyounoussi added Celtic's second. They got into their stride early on and have been dominant throughout, although Ross County have come into the game as it progressed. So at the break at Celtic Park in this pre-season friendly, a week out from the season, it's Celtic 2, Ross County 0.
So all positive for Celtic apart from that injury to Greg Taylor. So a bit of concern there from the left back after that tackle from Conor Randa. We'll look in depth into the highlights of the first half when John comes back down. Darren, your overall thoughts on that exercise for Celtic?
Yeah, Celtic totally dominant. Really good intensity, really good application. I think Neil Lennon will be delighted with how they've performed. But obviously, as you touched on, a couple of knocks, and in particular Greg Taylor, which is the only real negative of the half.
Yeah, so Cairn McInroy on for Greg. That's the only change at that first half. Second 45 to come. John Hartson's on his way back down from the commentary position, so we'll have a look through the Celtic goals and that tackle on Greg Taylor. Before that, sit back, relax and enjoy a look back on how last season's 9-in-a-row championship was won.
Always a special day at Paradise. The league flag unfurled again. Johnson back to Christie again. Christie takes the shot, and it's in off the underside of the bar. Flicks it across, looking for Odsonne Edouard. Edwards. Oh, that is absolutely wonderful! Gets him onto with the reboot, and a wonderful challenge there from El Hamid. Johnson threads it through towards Odsonne Edouard. He's stayed onside, a chance for the Frenchman. He's put it into the back of the net, and Celtic, with 31 minutes on the clock, have a goal. Can he score? Can he make it 2-0? Johnny Hayes, he scored! The Irishman has scored, and Celtic have all 3 points. The players, the fans, the substitutes celebrate. What a goal, what an intervention. Celtic with all 3 points. And there indeed is the final whistle. Celtic with the victory. Commanding performance, goals from Odsonne Edouard and Johnny Hayes. The cross comes in, and it's James Forrest with the opening goal. Forrest, he does! James Forrest shoots! James Forrest scores! Edward takes it to the byline, back to Frimpong, and he's done it! The youngster gets his first goal for Celtic. It's not clear, still Johnson to Brown. Caught with a shot. Oh, it's a wonder goal! It's a beauty! It's a 3 points! Unbelievable! Scott Brown, a left foot shot, and as a captain throw, a smile of relief from Neil Lennon. Quickly played in, it's a great pass, and what a goal from Christopher Julian! Edward, chance for the fourth, and it's there! What a move, what a goal! It's 3-1! Taylor cuts it back to McGregor, and it's a goal! Two left-footed players, and it's a goal, and it's Kozol Savinovic. Forrest is saved, and it's put in. Callum McGregor again, he's on hand. Forrest edge of the box, McGregor's into the area, Forrest can cut inside. Still Forrest, rolls it across Ayer, chance for Ayer. Oh, it's a wonder goal for Chris Ayer, an unlikely goal hero. That is a victory and a half. It was tight, chances were at a premium, and at the end it was Christopher Ayer with the coolest of finishes who has given Celtic all 3 points. Wonder, and it's an accumulative effort over the course of a season, but are these the games that we look back on and go, yeah, that was the one which really got us over the line? Callum McGregor is on the right foot, but that's no problem for Callum McGregor, and he runs to the Celtic supporters, and you can see what it means to them. It's Edward, he's onside, he's running in from a left position, the cutback is there, and the goal is there, and Tom Rogic has got the equaliser. Well, we came here looking for 3 points, but wow, we will take one. Some great memories there, and of course we're looking for more this season. 2-0 to Celtic at half-time in this pre-season friendly against Ross County. John Hartson, Darren the D with me. John, what was your thoughts on that first 45?
I thought Celtic were very good. I think they got the ideal start, obviously with the own goal from Donaldson, but I think they looked fresh, they looked very fit.
I'm not so sure whether Ross County have offered an awful lot going forward. Been quite comfortable for us defensively. I think Scott Bain's touched the ball 2 or 3 times really, but I think the space is wide with Frimpong and Elyounoussi in particular, and with Taylor as well, who was getting forward involved in the first goal. So it's been a good display. I think Celtic have looked very, very good.
It's certainly been a physical game, perhaps not to be expected in a pre-season friendly, but of course that's what Celtic have to deal with just round the corner.
Yeah, it is, and I think we spoke before the game. This is a rehearsal for next week for both teams, so I think it's been treated like a real game, if you like. And obviously Taylor's injury is the negative of the half, and it was a little bit of a naughty challenge, but as you said, that's what Celtic need to put up with at times.
Yeah, if you're wondering about the huddle pre-match, that was a socially distanced huddle. We did get permission to do the traditional huddle, but the Celtic medical staff decided to just err on the side of caution today and have the socially distanced huddle, which I'm sure you picked up at. John, if we just go to the first goal, I felt for Ross Doohan, or we should maybe thank Ross Doohan. It's a shame. First thing he had to do was pick the ball out of the net. Greg Taylor, I'm sure he'll be claiming this though.
Yeah, it's a nice build-up. 3 or 4 Celtic players, nice crisp pass in. There's Greg Taylor, decent ball into the box, and Donaldson's just trying to hook that out for the throw-in. Or he's a bit late, so it looks a little bit sloppy and sluggish from Donaldson, but it's ended up beating Doohan in his own goal. But can't do much about this, unfortunately. Donaldson is poor defending, but it's very early in the game, and maybe you can give him an excuse for that.
Yeah, when we use the wings as much as Celtic do, it's important that the delivery is good from either side. But even if the delivery is slightly off, which that one was, it can still cause problems for defenders when they're facing their own goal.
Yeah, I have to admit, watching it in real time, I was willing them not to cross it, because if you watch Odsonne Edouard actually link the play, there was no one in there. So it's really poor defending. It's a poor goal from Ross County's point of view, but of course Greg Taylor's delivery was decent and caused the problem.
You never got any own goals, Darren, did you?
No, it's red cards I got, John.
It was interesting that pre-match we were focusing more on the left-hand side and the relationship between Greg Taylor and Mo Elyounoussi, but of course on the right-hand side there's a great partnership developing between Jeremy Frimpong and James Forrest, and it was that partnership that led to Elyounoussi goal.
It's very, very positive play as well. You know, you see Frimpong gets it, he knows exactly what's going to happen. Defenders can't do anything about that 1-2, and the ball is played, and it's a good weighted pass back into Frimpong's path by Forrest, and Elyounoussi does brilliant because he's out wide on the left and he gets in on the back stick, and there he is with a great finish with his right foot. That is just a nice little slot, but the ball is excellent. But credit to Elyounoussi for getting himself from wide into the mix where he can be effective, and it's a great finish.
And again, it's that intelligence, that reading of the game that we picked up on Elyounoussi before the match started.
Yeah, it's really good movement. I think if he keeps arriving there, you'll get his fair share of goals. And we spoke as well with the mismatch of size with Lee Irwin and Frimpong, but it's actually going forward. The big fella is going to have a tough time keeping up with him. So James and Jeremy linked up really well, and as you said, Elyounoussi gets in at the back post really well.
Frimpong, Darren, obviously made such an impression when he came into the team last season, and when it came to the big European qualifiers, the manager tended to bring in El Hamid. Do you think perhaps he's got a lot more trust in Frimpong in the big games in this campaign?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think trust is a big thing, and especially in the big games. And I think the kid's just done fantastically well. He's an absolute, just a brilliant kid to watch. His enthusiasm for the game, and obviously his quality. But now I think you'll start to see that the trust is starting to grow with the manager and him, and I'm expecting big things from him this season.
I was talking, John, to Scott Brown on pre-season. I'm sure he won't mind me sort of revealing what he said, but we're talking about Frimpong, and it's, you know, if you know Scott, you know it's difficult to get compliments from the Celtic captain, but he told me that he thought Frimpong was special, and I thought for that to come from Scott Brown really says something.
Well, certainly he'll start in the right back position for Neil Lennon's team this year, and it's going to be down to him. It's going to be down to his consistency, putting in balls like that, linking with James Forrest, playing 1-2s, getting to the byline, working on his crossing, whether it needs to be drilled near post or if it needs to be stood up to the back post, like James Forrest. That ball he plays very well, that little dink, if you like, for the big centre forward to come over the full back. So it's down to Frimpong how well he wants to do. No doubt that praise from Scott Brown will give him good confidence as well.
Yeah, I'm sure Ross County are fairly happy that the floodgates didn't open after that, because it could quite easily have done. Forest came closest for Celtic after that. Again, Frimpong involved in this, and I think the shot from Forest just deflected onto the crossbar.
Yeah, it did. It's a little bit just under his feet there. The defender actually does well. I think initially Forest, it's not going on target, but it hits the defender there and it hits the crossbar then. But as I said again, Frimpong gets his head up, plays it into Forest on the half turn, turns, and he's very unlucky that Celtic are not 3-0 up there.
Yeah, James certainly knows where the goal is. He doesn't have to prove himself in this place.
Yeah, looking at that particular clip, that's a nightmare for an opposing team defenders. You stand off Frimpong because you know the speed can he take you on the outside, but then the fact he's got the quality to lift up his head and find a player in the box. And as you say, James has got a knack of scoring goals, so I'm sure they'll come.
I think as well, when James Forrest, when that 1-2 is played, when you can get 2-on-1, and that 1-2 is played with James Forrest's experience and his pace and power, it's very difficult to stop it. As you've seen a few times, it's very difficult to stop that when that 1-2 is played with such quality.
Just quickly, as the Celtic team's coming out, there was that tackle on Greg Taylor. Is there any need for this? Was this a bit overzealous, Darren, on Conor Randall's part? Obviously, it led to Greg Taylor going off.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's naughty. It's naughty, and he's obviously hurt Taylor, and Taylor's not the type to stay down. So that's the negative from the half. Yeah, it's not a good tackle.
So a little bit of concern there. We saw Christopher Ayer taking Odsonne Edouard limped off at that half-time as well, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, we'll let John go back up to commentary position. Kerr McInroy is on, and luckily for us, Rory Hamilton is in position.
It's come thick and fast after a 4-month break. There'll be no easing back into things, and that's exactly why this afternoon is so important, to get everyone back up to full speed and ready to hit the ground running. Celtic will unveil their traditional championship flag a week today against Hamilton Academical here in what has become an annual tradition really over the last 9 seasons. Ross County get their season underway a week on Monday against Motherwell. So it's as you were for the second half, Celtic making that late change with the injury to Greg Taylor, forcing him off, and Kerr McInroy given the opportunity to come on, and slightly unfamiliar role for him as a left back, more of a central midfield player, but for any young player, an opportunity to play for the first team, greatly received for Kerr McInroy, and particularly after the difficulties that he's had with injury, that Neil Lennon will desperately hope, along with the Celtic support, that Greg Taylor doesn't have anything too serious picked up in that first half. But there will have been slight relief after Christopher Ayer and Odsonne Edouard both were hobbling a little bit at times, but they are both out for the second half, so you can imagine if there was any issue at all, they wouldn't be risked for the second half. Brown looking for Edouard, sliding in was Irwin, back to Ross Doohan, run by Reid, and the foul goes the way of Regan Charles Cook. Stuart Kettlewell's been pretty busy in the transfer market already. 5 players in, and a few of them getting an opportunity to play in this one. The likes of the experienced Carl Tremarco still to come. Here's Frimpong, just the one addition for Celtic so far, and a familiar face in Moel Yanusi, of course, scoring in that first half, and he's really come back looking like he's at the top of his game to get ready for the start of the season. Here's Ayer. Now for McInroy. McGregor. Ayer and Julian continuing their partnership at the back. Celtic maybe are a little light in numbers. The departure of Jozo Shimunovic. There's Julian. Now for Christie. Celtic's joy in the first half did come down the flanks. The likes of Frimpong and Forrest linking up well on the right hand side. So too Taylor when he was on, with El Yunusi on the left. And they work it out now to Taylor's replacement, McInroy. Spotted McGregor in a touch of space. Ayer and Julian just get the communication right to feed the ball calmly back to Scott Bain. The first half certainly where Celtic were heavily dominant in possession. Frimpong, it's turned away by Iacoviti. Frimpong again with the opportunity. Sets it back for Forrest, almost into the feet of Ryan Christie. How dangerous he can be when he gets a sighting of goal 17 last season for the midfielder. McInroy was just trying to pull that back to Christie. The early stages of the second half, but already taking a similar form to that of the first. It didn't take Celtic long to break the deadlock. Cole Donaldson turned into his own net. This good run from Edouard. Iacoviti managing to nick the ball away from the French striker. Charles Cook. Faced by Frimpong. Gets the ball in, it's a decent one, but Bain out to handle it cleanly. Donaldson, but Vigurs was on the stretch, and now Forrest. Christie looping outside, the pass is perfect to Christie, but he couldn't provide the finish, unlike him. The weight and the angle from Forrest was pinpoint. Christie unable to beat his own teammate in Ross Doohan.
That was class play from Jamesy Forrest there. The weight of that pass and the timing was absolutely exceptional. Christie's tried to slide it underneath the goalkeeper's body, but the pass and the vision from Forrest was top draw.
It'll be an interesting one, of course, for Neil Lennon. He gets a good look at Ross Doohan this afternoon against his own side, so a handy workout really for
decent saves already, hasn't he? Yeah.
Everyone benefiting from that situation. El Yunusi. Edouard looks for the return to El Yunusi, but comes up in Ross County's possession with Draper. Vigurs, plenty of experience in the heart of the midfield for Ross County. McInroy had read that. Julian unable to find a teammate. Payton to Ollie Shaw. Irwin. Randall helps it into Vigurs. Charles Cook. McInroy read that well, otherwise it was coming all the way through to Irwin. Here's James Forrest. Christie in field, and those two combine once again. Forrest with the cross. Iacoviti heads clear. Christie not giving that one up easily. In the end, it's a foul on Harry Payton. Well, this was the link between Forrest and Christie. Great opportunity for Ryan Christie.
Yeah, it was. The ball from Forrest is unbelievable, outstanding. That's, you know, people think it's easy to get the weight and the timing of that, but it's just a great ball. He's thrown the defender in, slid Christie. Yes, Christie will know he maybe should have done better, but you can see he's tried to slide it under Ross Doohan's body for the goal. It's a good save. Doohan came out and narrowed the angle. Credit to the goalkeeper sometimes.
McGregor into Christie. He's got acres of space. Opts for Forrest. Frimpong will loop round the outside. Forrest, without even looking, knew he was there. Frimpong for the byline. Iacoviti times that really well. Had to get that one right. The defender, Frimpong, is such a threat when he gets into positions like that. Loves to hit the byline.
It's a big year for him, certainly this year, isn't it, Frimpong? He will get the shirt to start.
McInroy. Slightly overhit with the left foot. A good opportunity, albeit in unfortunate circumstances, for Kerr McInroy to get back out there amongst the first team squad, even though it's in a position that he's not so familiar with.
No, he's more accustomed to, you know, through the defensive, isn't he, you know, centrally, but he's got an opportunity today. Yeah, he's just not showed the best quality there. He had a chance with his left foot, but listen, he needs to be ready, McInroy. Greg Taylor injured this afternoon. He needs to be ready if called upon. As young as he is, put himself up there.
Christie's effort goes all the way across the face of Doohan's goal. Not troubling the young goalkeeper. But again, Ryan Christie's been a little bit more lively in this second half. Maybe more of the play was going out wide, bypassing the likes of Christie and Edouard in the first half, but he's been more involved this time around.
Certainly, he's in a position there, Christie, where he's centrally. He's got a little bit of a free role. He can, you know, he's got the freedom to go wherever he wants to go, and he should be getting on the ball at every opportunity. Give him the ball so he's fed up of actually getting it in the end. Every time you get it, just give it to Christie. Give it to your best player.
There's James Forrest. Elyounoussi not quite on the same wavelength. It's interesting that you say that, and Ryan Christie, you know, one of Celtic's best players, certainly, and a playmaker in that area.
I say best player. You could say the same. Give it to Moreira, give it to Forrest. But certainly Christie's in that central role. All he's got to do is get into space when he gets away from his marker, then give him the ball so he can turn and make things happen. He's outstanding at it, but when you don't give him the ball, he's wasted, Rory.
You know, we talked about the bonus that Frimpong was last year. Let me take you back 2 seasons. It was less than 2 years ago, and the League Cup semi-final at Murrayfield against Hearts, and Ryan Christie came on, turned the game, scored. Up until then, his Celtic career, his contract was running out that summer. He was probably going to leave without really having ever got started at Celtic, and now look at him. Tom Rogic can't get in the team. He's the main man in that pivotal role behind the striker, such an important position. He's gone from almost a nothing player to one of the most important.
He's your go-to man, and he just gives you, you know, that forward-thinking player, works hard, gets around the pitch, silky, you know, got a goal in him, can shoot from the edge of the box, and he's been ever so impressive. He's on a long-term contract for Celtic. rightly so. But as I said, when he's fit, he has to play because of what he brings to the team.
Well, Greg Taylor, at least remaining here, not needing to go for any further, more serious treatment on that injury, but will of course be a concern that he was forced off. I did say 17 goals for Ryan Christie last season. When you include his Scotland ones, he got up to 19. Really impressive stuff. And when you look at the players around him, McGregor got 13, Christie 19, Forrest 16, Elyounoussi 7, but really Elyounoussi was half a season. You'd expect he could get into double figures this season. That is absolutely imperative that you get goals from elsewhere. You need half a dozen from your centre-backs. Your full-backs can get forward. If your midfield players can get into double figures, it doesn't half take the pressure off the front men to come in with 25, 30 goals. As a front man for Celtic, you should be getting over 20 anyway, because you get so many chances, and 20 goals is a must as a centre forward for Celtic, with the players around you and the opportunities that they create for you. You had the issue of having to grab them off Henrik and Chris.
Well, I made a lot more than what I scored, Rory. I didn't mind making a few either.
I'm sure they were first to compliment you as well for that.
If I didn't score, I had two more alongside me that I knew that would.
Here's Julien. He certainly did his part with 7 goals last season. Draper. And for Shaw. Jakubiti. Vigers out for Reed. Brown. Good interception from him. Christie for Edouard, but Draper had lined him up. And Odsonne Edouard got a bit of a smash to the side of the face there from Ross Draper. Randall. Julien knocks it down, but only into the path of Ian Vigers. Invites Josh Reed to venture forward. Christie plucks it out the air. Took 2 Ross County players out with that touch. And a lovely ball round the corner as well that gets Frimpong into his stride. Edouard, who looks to have recovered from that bash, is ahead of him. Frimpong. He's got plenty of Ross County players between himself and the goal. So therefore, it comes out to the left-hand side for Elyounoussi and McGregor. Brown to Frimpong. Edouard one in. Very tight for space. Sets up McGregor. Out comes Donaldson with a block.
Almost feels Celtic are trying to walk it in at times. They cut him back, twist and turn on. McGregor's just had a shot blocked there, but a couple of opportunities where they found the space, they could have got the shot away.
Brown. McInroy. Oh, and it took a touch on its way through, deflected, and into the side netting will be a corner kick for Celtic.
That last move there, Rory, what I liked was looking at James Forrest. What an unselfish run he made to get on the outside of Frimpong. Frimpong didn't actually use him at the time, come inside, but excellent from James Forrest, unselfish work.
Ryan Christie eyeing up the corner kick. Usual suspects in the middle, like Christopher Julien. Went for something spectacular. Didn't quite meet it with the connection he was looking for. He wasn't a million miles away.
Decent strike. It's past the keeper's left-hand post. Hits it reasonably well, doesn't he? Just a little bit off target.
Yeah, he's looked frustrated. Back up on the halfway line that he didn't make a better connection, but those ones are tough to pluck out the sky. He's enjoying being back in Paris, where a number of his friends and family came to watch him at the Parc des Princes last week. Frimpong, Edouard, bit of space for him, his first touch. just let him down. Very unlike him. He's really been crowded out by the Ross County defence for the majority of this game. Odson Edouard will be another corner. El Yunusi's strike deflected wide for the corner.
It almost seems that when Edouard's on the ball, the Ross County players are almost swarming around him, not giving him any space, anywhere to run into, and it's been a little bit of a frustrating afternoon for Edouard up to now.
Oh, I thought that volley was going right in the back of the net there, John, from Odson Edouard.
Because of the commentator, wouldn't it?
Usually it goes the other way, in fairness. Frimpong. McEnroy. El Yunusi. And Forrest. And just a bit of a slice from James Forrest. Good opportunity.
Great opportunity. Just fails to keep it down. He'll know that himself. Just hit it into the ground. Takes up a great position. Peels off the defender very well.
Of course, a very busy time for the men involved in the recruitment at both clubs, and Nicky Hammond at Celtic has certainly taken in a few of the players that Neil Lennon would be interested in adding to his squad. Reports that taken another look at David Turnbull of Motherwell, of course, who, both for the player and the club, real disappointment last summer when his £3 million move didn't materialise at the end of that medical that picked up a knee injury. We wonder if they'll revive that move this summer. Here goes Forrest. Nice cut back, and McGregor, it's well blocked by Ross Draper. He's certainly one that puts his body on the line for his team. Fully committed player. Celtic looking to increase their advantage. Certainly seeing plenty of the ball. Ayer. Now McEnroy found a gap. Reid can clear. Brown's touch presents it to Lee Irwin. A chance for Ross County to make a break if they can get numbers up with Ollie Shaw and Lee Irwin. That ball looked like it's just gone out of play, and had. Julian. Now for Forrest. Christie. McGregor for McEnroy. And with the substitute once more. Callum McGregor, Scott Brown calls for some involvement. Quickens the play for Celtic with a couple of one-touch passes. El Yunusi trying to feed it through for Christie. Donaldson with the clearance, but it's just coming straight back at Ross County time and time again now. Celtic looking to pick their moment. Ayer for Odson Edouard. Hasn't got a goal yet in pre-season. He did have the ball in the net in the opening game against Nice, and it was bizarrely chalked off by VAR for offside when he was clearly on. There's Christie. Doohan can palm it away, and both Donaldson and Iacovitti were on hand just to ensure that there wasn't any further danger.
That's what he does very well, Christie. Starts out on that right-hand side. He can cut inside on that left foot. Tested the goalkeeper there. Decent strike.
Christie with the set play. We'll just go straight out for a goal kick.
Christie does that brilliantly. Cuts inside, very difficult to stop it.
They can score goals from all over the park. The threat from anything inside 30 yards, really. Donaldson for the visitors into Ian Vigurs. A bit of space now for Josh Reid to move into. Youngster, though, having to turn back for his captain. Donaldson, Draper. Celtic trying to press through Forrest, not to allow an easy out for the Ross County defenders, and in the end the press works for Celtic. Frimpong has made a mess of that. Payton and Ollie Shaw. Poor finish in the end for Shaw, trying to take advantage of that slip up from Frimpong, who'd maybe just taking things a bit too easy for that moment.
Yeah, well, it's poor from Frimpong. There's no going away from that. Yeah, he's been excellent today. He's got forward. He's had a hand in the goals. Him and Forrest have been very good. Worked his socks off, but listen, that's just swinging your leg. You got a little bit more composure. I know it's come out of the sky, but that's where you can let yourself down a little bit. You know, showing your inexperience, just throwing your leg at it. Got to be better there from Frimpong.
There'll come a week's time when we get into the competitive action, or probably more so when Celtic are involved in the European qualifiers. Those are the sorts of errors that won't go unpunished.
Particularly when you're last man as well, like he was. You know, you can't do that when you're last man. You've got to try and bring it down, get it under control.
Ollie Shaw will be frustrated at his lack of finish. Scored a couple of goals for Hibs against Celtic.
That's the difference, you know. Ross County have not really looked like scoring. All of a sudden, a mistake from your right back, Frimpong. They go through, they score, and then you get a nervy last 20 minutes where you're cruising 2-0. All of a sudden, it's 2-1, and then you get a nervy last 20, 25 minutes where Ross County then pick up a bit of confidence from that goal. That's the difference. That's the difference between winning and losing at this level.
Yeah, and you can be in control, and then suddenly the moment goes against you. Thinking back to the Hamilton game here last season in December, and Celtic needed a late Scott Brown goal to dig them out of dropping a couple of points. Christie, Elyounoussi. There's McGregor and Odsonne Edouard. Three Ross County players drawn to the Frenchman, knowing how much of a danger he is.
Listen, he's Edouard, but he's got to play that left. He's got to give that to McGregor. I don't know what he's trying to beat 3 or 4 players there within 2 yards of him. Yes, he's Edouard, but play McGregor. Make it simple.
Good challenge from Vigurs on James Forrest, and the Celtic winger has gone and stayed down. It's another concern for Neil Lennon. That would have probably been his first on the priority list, would have been to get all players off the field in 100% fitness levels, but James Forrest has remained down after what was a good challenge by Ian Vigurs. Just innocuous the way that Forrest hurt himself in the process. And after losing Greg Taylor in the first half to injury. This would be very bad news for Celtic should James Forrest have picked up an injury here. Gives the other players an opportunity to have a drinks break out in the East End sunshine in Glasgow. James Forrest, such an important player, a go-to man and big game player for Celtic. These are the goals that have put Celtic in the ascendancy. An own goal from Cole Donaldson early on in the contest before the link-up between Jeremy Frimpong and Moelia Nusi provided the second. And 2-0. And not quite cruising, but Neil Lennon's men have had most of the contest their own way and looking to add to it, albeit with a scare in the last few minutes when Jeremy Frimpong just took his eye off the ball and almost allowed Ollie Shaw to profit, who probably should have tucked it away in the corner. 2-0 between these two Premiership sides who get going next weekend with the big kick-off, and Celtic will unveil the Championship flag as they start the campaign for the 10 with a home game against Hamilton Academical. Well, James Forrest is back to his feet after receiving attention, looks ready to come back on and just test whatever knock he had picked up in that challenge.
It's the last thing that that Neil Lennon would want. Another player going off injured. He seems all right though, James. He's back up on his feet on the attack.
Well, it doesn't look restricted there. So good work from the medical team. There's Ayer. Gets it back from McGregor, and now El Yunusi. Ayer with the big switch. Christie managed to stretch and bring the ball down.
We don't just want it to fizzle out now and just almost become like a, you know, a testimonial. Celtic have to keep their foot on the gas. Keep pressing, keep looking to make forward runs, score more goals.
There's Irwin, and therefore Randall. Ross County making a change, and Ross Draper, the midfield enforcer, is making way, and for Ross Stewart, who played yesterday against Livingston. Ross Stewart, really their first choice centre forward, had an excellent season last time around. Might just drop into the hole behind Ollie Shaw. He's taking his instructions onto the rest of the players. Long from Donaldson, and the target is Stewart, whose presence was enough to send that one through to Reid. Good strike from the 18-year-old as well, who just recently signed a new deal.
Good save from Scott Bain. Excellent save, well covered.
There's further concern for Celtic. It's like Jeremy Frimpong.
It's almost like when you're trying not to get injured, you end up picking up a niggle. It's sod's law, isn't it, at times? You're so careful, you're sort of aware of, but I don't think you can actually play the game that way. You've got to go in fully hearted.
Charles Cook's corner kick repelled by Ayer. Foul by McInroy. So another chance from the set piece situation for Ross County, maybe to test out Scott Bain. Hasn't had too much to do the Celtic keeper. That's well marshalled by Ayer, who got in ahead of Jakabiti. Payton. Good ball winning from him. Ayer remained composed. You tend to get a better structure to the game when there aren't wholesale changes coming all in one go. Of course, teams will be able to make 5 changes when the season starts back. James Forrest taking another trip to the turf. Bit of a needless foul by Josh Reed.
He just done Josh Reed, didn't he? He just knocked it, he's gone. Josh Reed just brought him down, had no other opportunity than just to trip James Forrest over. He was clean through.
McInroy showed too much of it to Randall. Shaw through the middle. Just getting a bit of space between Ayer and Julian. Payton given away by Ayer. Irwin now. Stewart wants it. Irwin's going to go himself. Good hit. And decent enough save from Scott Bain. Palmed it away to safety. A save you'd probably expect him to make, but you've still got to get your angles right. Stewart picks up good space, good hit, and Bain again called into action. And a bit more work for Scott Bain to do of late, and Ross Stewart straight into the action there.
Great strike from Ross Stewart. Got the ball, turned, nobody near him. Good hit. And Scott Bain had it covered.
And they certainly rate him up in the Highlands, Ross Stewart. Very impressive last time around, and he can play wide, he can play behind the striker, he can be the lead striker. He's got a good physique to him. Oh, Yanusi this time taken out of the play by Regan Charles Cook.
It's a decent save from Scott Bain. Yeah, he hasn't had an awful lot to do today, Scott Bain, but what he has had to do, Rory, he's done very well. Decision making's been good when he's had to palm it away rather than try and hold it. He's parried it excellently.
That can sometimes be the difficulty in games like this for a goalkeeper that's maybe not involved so much, is keeping that concentration.
Absolutely, yes, I agree.
Well worked by Christie out to Frimpong. Ayer has continued his run forward, hoping to get involved and use his presence. It's well done by Christie. Lovely reverse ball for James Forrest. He's round the goalkeeper, sets up Odsonne Edouard. They've got numbers back, and Edouard can't hit the target. It looked for certain like it was going to be number 3 there.
Forrest had a go, then Christie, then Edouard. Ross County did get bodies back on the line. I think it's just tipped over the bar, I think, from Edouard in the end. Celtic pressing for a third.
Will be the corner kick to be taken by Christie. Julian on the move. It was touched on by Scott Brown as well, but not troubling the goalkeeper this time around. And the chances beginning to come at both ends recently.
I think you're right. I think it's Scott Brown. Just can't quite get enough on the header.
It was Josh Reed who took a bit of a sore one in the process, but he's back up and happy to soldier on. Irwin making his presence known. And it's Frimpong.
I think Neil Lennon was determined to give the lads 90 minutes today. Give the lads plenty of work. You know, this will be their last game before the opener next Sunday against Hamilton, of course.
Christie unleashing Forrest, but he'd just gone a little too soon.
see everybody's stayed on, other than the injuries that we've had. Greg Taylor being one. It's the only one. Forrest have had a knock. Ayers had a knock, but they've seemed to have come through it.
Patrick Klimala on the bench for Celtic today, and as things stand, he looks like the backup for Odsonne Edouard. Stewart, it's a nice 1-2 with Payton, and again, and he's made a bit of a difference since coming on for Ross County. It doesn't quite work out that time around. McGregor, Forrest, and Odsonne Edouard was desperate for the ball to be played through there.
I just think Forrest thought Edouard had just strayed slightly offside. That's why he didn't give it to him.
Charles Cook, no way round the outside of Kerr McInroy though. You know, just mentioning...
Good from McInroy, that. Very good.
Mentioning Klimala there, and in pre-season he's been second choice to Edouard. How important is it that Neil Lennon gets a fit and firing Lee Griffiths back involved?
Well, it's more important, I think, for Lee to get himself in a position that he's fit and able to play again. And yes, Neil Lennon has worked with him on numerous occasions, stood by him, backed him, supported him. But it's up to Lee now to show, you know, faith in his manager, and to get himself in a position where he's fit, he's ready to go, and Neil feels confident enough to get him on the pitch.
He's got to rebuild a bit of that trust, doesn't he?
Absolutely, of course he has. And I said last week that he'd let his manager down, but more than anything else, he'd let himself down. And Celtic need Lee Griffiths at this moment in time, because they are very much lacking in the centre-forward department. You know we'll come back with 20, 30 goals. That's what he gives you, and he's absolutely vital for Celtic. But he's got to be ready both physically and mentally.
Edouard's free kick straight into the wall. No way through for Christie either. Brown out to Frimpong. And there are options in the middle. Frimpong goes it alone. Edouard tees up McGregor, who got well underneath it. Certainly another good exercise for both squads to get minutes in the legs. Just work on that sharpness that returns after, 4 months. So many of these players in their entire careers won't have had 4 months, barring injury, serious injury, 4 months where they're not playing any competitive football.
But they would have had programmes that they would have been ticking over, and there would have been a criteria where they would have to fit into in terms of the first day they come back. They would have been tested, everything else. But no, it's been quite strange, isn't it, for everybody, in particular in the sporting world. That's why it's great to see football back on the calendar, albeit it's a bit strange. Whenever I've ever been here at Celtic Park, it's always been so noisy you can't hear myself speak.
Yeah, very different.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Minus the bouncing Green Brigade down in that corner. Here's Forrest. Stood up well to the shot. Elyounoussi. Forrest trying to thread his own way through. Here's Scott Brown. McInroy. Neil Lennon would have probably expected his team to go on and add goals in this second half. None as yet, and actually Ross County have come out and been a bit more of an attacking threat at times, had some openings of their own, forced Scott Bain into a couple of good saves with shots from distance. A bit of encouragement for Stuart Kettlewell there. Here's Christie. Vigurs wasn't being fooled by Christie's movement. A couple of changes coming for Ross County. Matthew Wright and Adam McKinnon coming on for them. Ian Vigurs and Ollie Shaw, the two to make way. A couple of the younger players getting an opportunity with the first team. We've got a good academy set up in Dingwall with their Highland Academy. And looking to provide the players for the future. Christie. Julian got a touch onto Brown. Caught the volley full, but it was blocked. Here's Stewart. Feeds it out to Payton. Stewart goes for the return. He's their link man. Ross Stewart. It's Frimpong who gets back. And now, darting forward. The timing's right to El Yunusi. Forrest alongside him. Moy El Yunusi, who's already scored once, slips it across. If Edward had been a couple of yards further forward, he'd have had a tap in. Forrest now. El Yunusi wants it, gets it, and fires it over the top, but there was a touch on its way through.
I think initially Forrest puts in El Yunusi, and he's just looking for Edward to make himself just to run into that 6-yard box, so he's got a tap in literally, but Edward tended to stay out, maybe looking for the ball to be cut a little bit more back, but I don't think El Yunusi could have actually done any more than what he did to try and make Edward a goal there.
Christie to take. Iakoviti with the header away, and that is the final act of the game. No goals in this second half, but Celtic got their two early on in the contest. The first, an own goal from the unfortunate Cole Donaldson, who turned in over his own goalkeeper, and then it was Moy El Yunusi who turned in the cross from Frimpong to get Celtic second, and another good 90 minutes in the legs. We're a week out from the start of the season, and the full-time score at Celtic Park, and the return football here is Celtic 2, Ross County 0.
Yeah, so a clean sheet for Celtic in this pre-season friendly. Another 90 minutes under the belt. Another goal for Mohamed El Yunusi. 2-0 the final score then. I'm sure Neil Lennon will be pretty happy with the workout his team got this afternoon. Thanks very much to Ross County for coming and giving us a game. And, well, we did give you a goalkeeper for your efforts as well. And well done to young Ross Doohan in goals. We'll hear from the manager shortly. We'll just get the thoughts of Darren O'Dea, and John Hartson will come down from his commentary position. At this stage, Darren, for the players, it is about getting that match fitness, but the clean sheet's important and the win's important too.
Yeah, and 90 minutes for the majority of players. Obviously Greg Taylor having to go off with injury, but yeah, good workout, good performance, and leads the team nicely into next week.
Yeah, a few kind of scary moments. There were a few instances with Celtic players on the ground needing treatment. We know Greg Taylor has gone off at half-time, but we still await to find out how serious that injury is. So those are the only concerning things.
Yeah, there was, and I think Tim Williamson covered a couple of kilometres in that game. He was on and off the pitch treating players, but these are the things that you have to put up with in pre-season. The players managed the game well, came through it well, and barring Greg Taylor, fingers crossed he's okay. As I said, it'll lead them nicely into next weekend now.
There is backup, of course, in the squad, but I think because of the game tomorrow against Hibs, that a lot of those players have been kept back. But it does highlight that when certain players do go down, that Neil Lennon will be desperate to strengthen the squad. Yeah,
absolutely. And there is strength and depth. The manager will probably look to add a few to it. But listen, it's early in the window. the squad they've got now will be the one they'll go into next week with, so it's imperative they keep them all fit and well.
Any players in particular stand out for you today?
I'd give a mention to Kerr McInroy coming in, playing a left back, which is obviously not his natural position. I thought he did well when he came on. I think they all did well. Bruni looks fit and sharp, which he always does. They control the game. Frimpong and James Forrest looked to have a real good connection, which they did last year as well. Loads and loads of positives, but the main thing is they're fit and ready to go now for when it really matters next week.
And Scott Bain in goal, he did see a bit of action in the second half and made a few good saves.
Yeah, it was maybe from Celtic's point of view a little bit flat the second half, which is understandable, but when he was called upon he made saves that you would expect a keeper of his quality to make, but he can be pleased with his performance as well.
Yeah, absolutely, a safe pair of hands there. The first goal was Greg Taylor's cross, deflected by Cole Donaldson into the back of the net. Greg Taylor went off, but it was a perfect start for Celtic.
Yeah, it was, yeah, and if you actually see here, it's Odson Edward that lays it off, and when it goes out to Greg Taylor, in my head I was actually willing him not to cross it. Look, there's no one in the actual box, but it just shows you put it into a decent area. It's poor defending. It's unlucky from the defender, but it's also poor. But Celtic get off to a great start early on the game, and you thought the floodgates would open here. It never happened, but no. Listen, a decent ball, but the defender's got to be doing a lot better.
When we see the second goal, when we get round to it, you will see Forrest and Frimpong combining, but let's see them combining in a post-match interview. They're with John Ledwith.
James, the manager spoke before the match about adapting to a kind of new norm without the fans here this afternoon. How was your first experience of that today?
Yeah, it was different, I think, because of the pre-season games that we played in France. There was some fans still there, but obviously today was a bit different. But I think it's good that all the boys got a taste of it, and same with the lads that didn't play today, they'll get a taste of it tomorrow, and then we'll be looking forward to play a first league game on Sunday, and it's without the fans, but we're just going to need to deal with it.
In respect to the match itself, Jeremy, it was very SPFL in style. It was a competitive match this afternoon and a good 90 minutes workout.
Yeah, it was a good win for the team. Yeah, we worked hard. Obviously, we needed to get a win for the pre-season, and we did good today. And Ross County was a good team as well, so yeah, it was good. And
the manager said you get a rest tomorrow, but of course the main attraction will be next week, and we're looking forward to Hamilton Accies visiting on what we know as Flag Day here in Paradise.
Yeah, it's good that we rest up for the game ahead next weekend. Obviously the season starts and we can't wait. We just want to get back at it and show the teams what we got.
And James, it's been a difficult period, but do you feel that you're almost now up to speed after the kind of unusual preparations you've had?
Yeah, it's been difficult, but it's been different, and I think the boys have done tremendous, in lockdown, like everyone keeping their fitness up to speed, and when they come back in, it was just like kind of getting football-based training, and it's been a good 6 weeks, and we're buzzing to be back at Celtic Park, and everyone's really looking forward to next Sunday.
Well done again this afternoon, lads.
Thank you.
John Hartson's back with us. John, we see James Forrest and Jeremy Frimpong combining there. Was their link-up play one of the highlights for you in the game?
It was, certainly. I think especially James Forrest's his pass to Ryan Christie. Great vision, great way to pass. And he's been in that situation so many times where he's dependent on the passer when he makes that overlapping run, so he knows exactly how to play it. I thought that was world class, that pass into Christie, where the goalkeeper did very well. But Frimpong, again, good afternoon for him. As we said half time, he'll get an opportunity to start the season. It's basically down to him. He was a bit sloppy at the back there, when he tried that, rather than trying to bring it down and controlling it. But no, I thought they were excellent down that right hand side, and it's great food for thought, for the manager.
They combined well for Mohamed El Yunusi's goal in that first half. Forrest and Frimpong combining well just down this right hand side, Darren.
Yeah, they do. You can see James Forrest coming into the pitch, which what he usually does, playing with Frimpong, and that combination is so difficult to deal with. It's a really good ball into the box rather than just fizzing across. He actually picks him out, which is excellent, and it's a great finish in the end.
Makes it easy for Forrest to play that ball, because look at Frimpong, gives it and goes. So James Forrest has got one simple thing to do, play it into the space, and that's a beautiful finish by El Yunusi.
Yeah, we see wingers that are quick. We see some wingers that aren't quick, but they can give in a good delivery. Jeremy Frimpong seems to have both.
Yeah, well, it's something I think he will learn as he gets more games, more experience. We spoke again at half-time whether he's going to drill it into the near post. A lot depends if you're a winger. You know, saying that, when I used to play with wingers, like people like Alan Thompson and things like that, they would generally just put it into an area. And if they put it into an area as a centre forward, if you can get a steal a march on the centre half and run into that space, the ball would come. Don't be overly worried about where you're playing it. Just put it in that area with pace. That's what I'd be saying to a
And I suppose
winger.
this is where the understanding then develops. From the winger's perspective, you don't have to keep looking up to see where the teammates are because you've got the understanding.
Exactly. Just put it in every opportunity. You get half a yard, bosh, in the box. That in-swinger from the left-hand side here, Frimpong, don't hesitate. Don't cut back. If you've got a yard, don't chop and change. You get a yard in the box. That's how I always liked it as a forward. Celtic
have obviously relied on centre forwards to score goals, but when you've got guys like Ryan Christie, El Yunusi and James Forrest as well, you know that there's a number of goals in there. Forrest came very close for here. The shot was just deflected off the bar, but he's a player that we're expecting, you know, without putting too much pressure on him, double figures this season.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And say we're not putting pressure on him, that'll be the pressure he'll put on himself. A player now, kind of wide players generically years ago were creators, now they're goal scorers, and James Forrest will certainly be wanting to hit double figures, as will all the front players, I think.
It's massive that other players chip in with goals, and midfield players should be looking at double figures. The likes of Ryan Christie, Forrest, McGregor, your centre halves should be looking for 4 or 5 goals from certain areas. And you know your centre forwards, if you're not scoring 20 goals plus as a centre forward for Celtic, you're not doing your job right. You are given so many opportunities. You keep yourself fit and you play enough games. So you've got to add more goals rather than your forwards. And Celtic certainly have the players to do that.
The only downside to that first half was the injury to Greg Taylor. Conor Randall with this challenge, perhaps not so much a friendly challenge. It was pretty heavy in from the side there. Taylor, he tried to continue, Darren, but eventually went down. Do you get the impression this is something that could keep him out for a few weeks?
Just purely his personality, yeah. I don't think he's the type that would stay down or want to come off. It's a poor challenge. And fingers crossed he's okay, but he's not the type I think that would come off easily.
No, and he's a player. I mean, listen, John, we were talking about it. There is backup in the squad, of course. Bolingoli is on the left side. But when players go down, their first team choices, you do get slightly worried about the strength and depth.
Of course you do, and that'll worry the manager. But the good thing is, I think the window is going to be open till early October. There's no need to panic. I think what Neil will be saying to his the men upstairs, the men that get the deals over the line ultimately, is I need numbers, but if we can get through the first 4 or 5 games with what we've got, I think they'll have targets. There's no doubt Celtic are looking for targets. Their recruitment people all out there. There'll be numerous players offered to them. Be looking at all the videos that come in of players all around the world. That'll happen, but I think what they'll be saying is there's no rush. We've got almost 2 months to get plenty of players in, but I go back to the fact is you don't just want to bring in players for the sake of adding numbers. It's quality. You want players to come in who is equally as good as what you've got, if not better, so you can improve Celtic, not just be equally as good. But I don't think there's any need to panic right now, but certainly I would want to see another 2 defenders, a midfield player, a striker, a winger. I want another 4 or 5. Personally, that's what I'd like to see, and I think I share a lot of the fans' opinions in that.
Okay, well, we will hear from the manager and hear what he thought of that performance, get an update on the Greg Taylor situation. He's live now, trackside, with John Ledwith.
Neil, the first match back, 2 early goals, a clean sheet, but probably more about fitness and fluency. Did you see enough over the 90 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, we had a raft of good chances to win the game by a lot more. So we got to give them all the 90 minutes to make any subs, just to make sure they got a full 90 minutes. So they'll benefit from that over the next couple of days, and that'll set them up for the weekend. I was very pleased with good control, and we should have scored a few more goals, particularly on the counter-attack, and I'm delighted with the clean sheet as well.
Good intensity and tempo to the game. Do you feel they managed that well given the absence of the crowd here today?
Yeah, we asked them in half-time, how do you feel? They said, feel okay, it's fine. It's going to be difficult the longer that goes on without the fans, I understand that. But for the short term anyway, they felt they were able to communicate better, obviously. but obviously they miss the intensity of the crowd being there, and they're going to have to generate that from self-motivation and the motivation that we give them as well.
They were given a tough test. It was a competitive match, and Greg Taylor was kind of subject to a late challenge. How is he in there at the moment?
He's all right. It's just a trauma, so hopefully he'll be fit for Wednesday to train this week or Thursday. But it's strapped up at the minute, and it was a little bit sore. Hopefully in a couple of days the swelling will go down and be okay.
And you look forward to an opportunity to see the rest of the squad tomorrow against the Bain?
Yeah, looking forward to that. Some young players, some players who, you know, are on the fringe, and some who will be, you know, in competition for places as we go along. So it'll be another good workout, and we're delighted to have these games.
Well, again, it's great to see you back. Well done today, Neil.
Thanks, John.
Well, good news there regarding Greg Taylor. Darren, the manager, fully expects him, once the swelling goes down, to be back training this week.
I know, I'm saying he shouldn't have come off so easily. I was predicting 2 or 3 months. Different breeds nowadays. No, definitely if he's picked up a knock, it was the right decision to come off, take no chances, and yeah, that's very good news.
You mentioned Kerr McInroy. He obviously came on. He's a player that we've seen on the fringes. You know a lot about him, of course, from behind the scenes. What kind of player is he, and is he a player that's got the ability to break into this first team?
The ability to break into the first team, but probably not as a left back. He's more a central midfielder that would play in front of the back four. Real good range of passing. Physically a robust boy. He's come off the back of a serious injury last year and worked ever so hard to get back fit, which he quite clearly is now. But brilliant for him to get on with the kind of proper Celtic 11 on the pitch, and great experience for him today.
We mentioned Scott Bain before the match. John, he's got the jersey just now, so he needs to prepare to start the season. He was called into action a few times, particularly in the second half.
I think what he needed to do, didn't have an awful lot to do, but what he needed to do, he did very well. You know, he tried to hold on to a couple of shots at him. This one is just too much power, so he parried that away for a corner. His decision making, I felt, was good. And this is the problem when you're in goal for Celtic against the lower teams in the league, if you like. You're not got an awful lot to do, so your concentration levels have to be spot on all the way through the game for 90 minutes. But it's a great strike, and that's a good save again. He's managed to get up and smother that. So, as I said, not an awful lot to do this afternoon, Scott Bain, but what he did do, he did very well.
And it's interesting, we talk about it and you hear the manager talking about the reaction of the outfield players playing in front of an empty stadium, but the goalkeepers as well, because especially here at Celtic Park, sometimes the goalkeepers, Darren, don't have much to do, and to keep your concentration when things are pretty quiet must be difficult.
Yeah, and John's spot on. As a goalkeeper for Celtic, concentration is a huge part of it. You're not always involved in the action. It's sporadic at times. And I think Scott Bain can be really happy with his performance. It was complete, it was clean. Everything he had to do, he did it well, albeit there wasn't all that much to do. So he can be happy with himself.
Good stuff, thanks very much, guys. 2 first half goals then, an own goal and a Mohamed El Younousi strike was the difference between the sides this afternoon. Darren and myself will be back tomorrow. We'll be in the commentary gantry for another bounce match, so we hope to see you live for that one. It's a 1:30 kick-off, Celtic against Hibs, live here at Celtic Park. In the meantime, with the final score, Celtic 2, Ross County 0, from John, from Darren, from myself, bye-bye for now.